Hello and welcome. I recently bought this huge pile of hardware on eBay and I would like to show you what I got and maybe make a couple of restoration and follow-up videos on this. So if you are maybe interested to see more of any particular hardware which I show in this video, I would be glad to know about it in the comments. I bought this hardware actually because of only one particular sound card, but was still really excited about all the surprises I could get. Eventually the box arrived tightly filled with hardware. These parts were sold as electronic scrap, ready for recycling, but I asked the seller at least to wrap the parts more or less in newspaper to avoid further damage as much as possible. And as you see, the seller was so friendly to put some paper between every layer of hardware indeed. So a big thank you at this point. It was quite a lot of hardware, and I sorted it off camera a little bit already. This box contains all the parts which I am not interested in, either because I already own a lot of similar hardware or it is not worth it to repair. Like this single board computer, for example, it looks exciting, but someone already desoldered a lot of parts from it. Also, the CPU socket is missing and a lot of passive elements on the back as well. Or this AGP Radeon 9200 card, which has physical damages, or this network card, which is probably working, but it has no RJ45 connector, and I already own 10 of the sort. Anyway, this stuff is of no use for me, but there is still a whole lot of exciting things left, so let's take a look at them now. Let's start with sound cards. First comes first, and this one was my reason to buy all these parts. It is a famous Pro Audio Spectrum 16 from Mediavision. I am collecting sound cards, and this one was missing in my collection so far. This high-quality sound card is compatible with Sound Blaster and implemented 16-bit stereo even before Creative Labs did. The Pro Audio Spectrum was incompatible with Sound Blaster Pro, but many games supported the Pro Audio Spectrum in stereo directly. Famous names like Descent, Doom, and Duke Nukem 3D are among them. The sound card was a direct attack on Creative Labs and then forced them to throw the Sound Blaster 16 onto the market, unready and with a lot of bugs and issues as it turned out. That much afraid they were about this competition. For me, this Pro Audio Spectrum was the card with the highest quality available to non-professional users back then. The next one is also very famous one, is the Sound Blaster 2.0. If you watch my channel, you will probably remember that I reverse engineered the logic IC for the CMS add-on for this card. And here you can see that the ICs are missing, and if you don't know what belongs into the sockets, please take a look at that video. And another sound card from Creative Labs, the Sound Blaster AWE64. It is quite common, but a very good sound card, with a very good output quality, support for loadable sound phones, MPU 401, as well as General MIDI and MT32 emulation. And the next star of the program is this modem and sound card combo. It is called MyroConnect 34 Wave and will take a perfect place in my collection as well. But why am I so glad about it? Usually such combo cards were made on a cheap base, but not this one. Let me remove the modem first. This one is nothing special, it is just a 28 kilobaud and it is basically not usable today. The more interesting part is the sound card itself. So you can see it is based on Crystal CS4216 audio codec chip. At the first sight, nothing special, but also not very common. I didn't expect to find this card in the stack, and as I saw it, I was attracted by these memory modules here. If a sound card has such memory modules, it usually means that it supports wavetables with loadable sound phones. And indeed, this sound card has a very rare M-Wave DSP made by IBM, which has support for sound phones and probably General MIDI emulation as far as I know. However, I'm not yet 100% sure and will hopefully be able to test this card as soon as possible. Unfortunately, it is not quite easy to find the drivers for the sound card, so I guess it will be not quite straightforward ride for me. I don't know about the condition of all of these sound cards, but some are definitely damaged, like this Crystal Magic card, where the voltage regulator is obviously missing. or this TerraTech sound card, which looks beyond any repair as well. I will have to take a closer look at every one of these cards and decide later what I can do about it. Maybe I will do some interesting repair videos. Who knows? There were also some PCI sound cards in the stack, like this Creative PCI 128, but they are very common and not very interesting if you ask me, so let's move on to the graphics card. As you can see, all the ICs which were socketed were already pulled from the cards. Look at this Zank ET4000. It has missing BIOS chips, missing clock generator, as well as RAM deck. To get this card running again, I will have to find replacement for all of these ICs. Where EPROMs for the BIOS are not a problem, other ICs are not as easy to find, so it will take its time to get these cards working. This spare V7 Mirage has only a missing BIOS chip and the memory ICs, which should be optional, I guess, so it shouldn't be too complicated to get this one back to life. The card seems not to have any physical damage, however it is extremely dirty, just like all of the cards from this stack. Some cards also have slight physical impacts, like this S3 VLB card. Here some pins were bent, and I already straightened them with a needle, but some of the pins are loosened, and I will have to reflow the solder on this card to get everything in contact again. I already showed some videos how to do this previously. And talking about definitely broken cards, these ones were also in the box, and the 3DFX Voodoo got obviously a bad hit on the TMU, as you can see. I am pretty confident that this one is dead. ICs usually don't survive such a violent impact. They get cracked inside and that's all. However, as for 3DFX, there is also a Voodoo 3 3000 included, and I hope this one is actually working. At least I can't see any obvious damage. These cards got extremely hot, and I just can see some scratches on the heatsink from the screws, which were holding a custom fan on it. This is actually a good sign, and means that card got a better cooling in some extent by a previous owner. In the box, there were also a couple of different PCI graphics cards. I just took two of them as an example. This is the S3 Trio 64V Plus by Myro. A quite fast and very compatible PCI graphics card, also unfortunately with a missing BIOS. And the Hercules Stingray Pro. This ARK1000 based graphics card was the fastest card for VGA games ever. For the VGA resolution, this card beats the shit out of all the S3s and Zanks out there and is perfect for Doom and Quake in VGA. However, in SVGA, it usually falls slightly behind the competition, but not by a huge margin. I love this card. Unfortunately, it is only 1 megabyte version and it again has no BIOS chip, but maybe I can not only get it working, but also upgrade it to 2 megabytes as well. And up to the next load. Two ISA Adaptec SCSI controllers, AHA1542B and AHA1542CF, both without the ROMs, but that shouldn't be a problem. Also an IDE controller, if it works, always good to have one more. All the pins are bent, but overall condition seems to be okay. There were also a lot of network adapters. I don't show you all the PCI cards, they are really nothing special, but here I got a selection of ISA Ethernet adapters, something I always like to have in a retro machine. I chose these ones because they all have RJ45 connectors and are easy to connect to a modern network. I really like these Realtek cards because they have jumpers for all the IRQ and address settings. This is quite handy because you don't need a software if you need to change some settings. These cards seem not to be physically damaged, but they are all extremely dirty, as you see. Okay, all the cards I showed to you so far will now take a bath. I added some soap and will leave the hardware to soak in the water for about 15 to 20 minutes. And so far, I would like to show you even more cards which were also in the package. A set of PCI Express graphics cards. This hardware is a bit too new for my channel, but still, let's see what I got. Here is a GTX 770, still a quite capable card and is the most powerful here. They all smell of cigarettes really badly, but at least this one looks not too dirty. I don't know if it works though. Okay, here is an ATI Radeon HD 4780. This was a powerful card back in the days, but it is definitely too weak for modern games. This is NVIDIA 9500 GT. The only special thing about this card is that it has completely passive cooling, actually also a sign of its weakness. An NVIDIA GeForce 8800 GTS, also very dirty and smells like a rotting smoker. And look at this ATI Radeon HD 2600 Pro. Yeah, disgusting. At least for a Linux PC and old games, it is not that bad. And last but not least, NVIDIA 6800 GT. A nice high-end card back in the days, like 15 years ago, but absolutely too old for anything today. Still, maybe interesting for a retro build. The caps are all blown and it misses the slot bracket. Well, I will have to clean these cards separately since I can't just put them assembled into the water because of the fans and thermal foam. But I'm curious if they work at all, especially the GTX 770 can still be a good option for playing in HD, I guess. Would be nice if it is working. Back to the hardware in the water. I washed everything with soap and brush and cleaned all the cards with tap water multiple times. After that, I left all the cards drying for 2 days on the balcony. Unfortunately, I didn't make any pictures, but here is one where I'm trying once again to sort and take a closer look on each card. Straighten the pins, fasten the screws and such things. It looks a bit messy, but I was gentle, believe me. It is just a hell lot of hardware if you spread it all over the floor. If I would, I'd have to explain it somehow why I'm actually messing up the whole flat, so I had to make it with as little space as possible. Just call it survival instinct if you want so. And here are some results of my work so far. All the PCI graphics cards, which just needed the BIOS ROM, I could get back to life. Now I have plenty of nice cards for my retro builds. The SCSI controllers both also working again. They just needed the BIOS ROMs as well. I'm also happy to say that the Pro Audio Spectrum card is absolutely working. The Creative Sound Blaster 2.0 is working as well, and I even upgraded it with CMS chips. Other cards are also working, and you probably have seen them in my last video where the Aztec completed my awesome retro build. Unfortunately, I didn't get managed yet to test this M-Wave sound card. I tried some drivers, but they didn't work. I found an M-Wave CD image from IBM directly, and I hope that it will get it working. In regards of the PCI Express cards, well, the ATI HD 2600 Pro as well as NVIDIA 9500 GT and ATI HD 4780 are working. The HD 26 Pro even already found a new owner. I recapped the 6800 GT just for fun and it is also absolutely working now. However, it misses the slot bracket yet. And unfortunately, the GTX 770 seems to be dead. But maybe this is a good topic for another video. What do you think? The 3DFX Voodoo 1 is dead indeed, just as expected, but the Voodoo 3 is working. And the S3 VLB is also fine after I reflowed the solder and added the missing ROM. I am actually super happy with the results so far. I didn't get managed yet to take care of everything. I honestly didn't even show you everything interesting what was in the box. But I thought to make some follow-up videos on it. Maybe do some repair videos, we will see. And if you are interested in what comes next, please consider to subscribe if not yet done. And I say thank you and goodbye.